Hi, everybody. Welcome to SF Doc Fest. I'm Chris Metzler, one of the programmers here. We're celebrating 23 years of bringing some of the most interesting, cool, and great documentaries from around the world to here in San Francisco. You've just had a chance to see the really wonderful film, Welcome Space Brothers, and we're lucky enough to have both Jody and Kevin here. Welcome, guys.
Hey, Chris.
Thank you.
So maybe a good place to start, Jody, is you know many people in the audience are wondering, I imagine, like what was the catalyst for you decide to kind of go down this rabbit hole and know this was the story that you wanted to make a film about?
Mm. Well, I'd first experienced Unarius for myself, Unarius psychodramas on television in the 90s when I was a music video director living in Los Angeles. And a lot of friends of mine knew about Unarius. They would rave about their videos. Some of them would trade the videos. And when I first saw the videos, I was just like, oh, like my brain just melted, and it was just incredible. I didn't even know, what to do with it. It was just so extraordinary and different from anything I'd ever seen, and I loved it. And I visited, Unarius, I think in the late 90s, but it wasn't until about 2014 when I got invited to co-curate a museum show at the American Visionary Art Museum in Baltimore called the Visionary Experience, where I decided, oh my gosh, I must have Unarius in this show. It's a show about people who travel to other dimensions and are able to bring back, experiences, inventions, new religions, whatever. And I reached out to Unarius. I called them on the phone and told them about myself and asked if I might be able to come down and meet with them. They very graciously invited me down and invited me to look at their archive. And when I got a glance at the massive archive that Unarius has, including thousands of, color stills, 1,000 videotapes, dozens and dozens of handmade costumes for Uriel, and the artwork. I was astonished. I had no idea, what they had. And so through the process of doing the museum show, I really enjoyed, I mean, even, as much as I was blown away by the creative output immediately, I was even more charmed by the Unarians, once I got to spend time with them and hang out with them. So we ended up programming their films. We showed the arrival at the San Francisco International Film Festival in 2015. We showed their films at the Horse Hospital in London, New York, all these places, and we just got to know each other. And I realized that the film and video archive was much bigger than I thought it was, and that their story, I mean, really, this came from hanging out with Kevin and staying at Kevin and Tracy's house, his wife. Like when I would come down to Unarius, I would spend the night at their house. We would always drink wine before bed, and I would get to hear the personal stories of Unarius. So, aside from their history, which it revealed itself to be truly extraordinary, their external history, the personal history of the people involved, to me, was very moving and astonishing, and I just had to make a film. So that's how it happened. Once I got in, I couldn't stop.
And Kevin, when Jody kind of brought up this idea of making a documentary, what were your kind of initial thoughts, and how did the kind of collaboration develop?
Well, important to understand from our perspective is that was she going to be respectful? And first thing she said is, you know what, I'm going to respect what you guys have done because, as is pointed out in the film, in the doc, we've had so many people come by because, for years we were the people that believe in life on other worlds. So let's go get our 30-second soundbite, and then we can say what we want. And Jody said, I will be respectful. And as I related to everybody at Unarius, I said, that doesn't mean she's not going to say things that we're maybe uncomfortable with, but if she's respectful, that's wonderful. And she says, I'm going to make it positive. I said, that's even better. So yeah, when we met Jody and interacted with her, and then saw the work that she had done before on another documentary, and then in the process of going to these different places, into London, to New York, to I mean, all over the Baltimore, we were able to really understand what she wanted to do. And because that is our mission as well as telling the world about Unarius, it's just like, okay, great, that's fine, wonderful, let's work together and have some fun. And I knew that with the amount of video that we had, it was going to, honestly, it was going to be difficult for her because there's just so much footage. But I also knew that this is a person that's going to utilize it really well. And it just fit, absolutely fit, and fit our mission of Unarius. And we said, let's go, let's do it.
And was there any, like, as you were determining the kind of aesthetic approach, Jody, I mean, how much of it was kind of influenced based on the kind of styles that the Unarians were kind of utilizing, and how much of it was like what you wanted to kind of bring to the table? And how did you kind of like, I mean, in documentaries, right? I mean, it's really rare to have, a subject that you're telling that is, very familiar with kind of storytelling and media making and things. And so how did that kind of affect the kind of relationship and approach you brought to creating the film?
Mm. Well, first off, I should say that my perspective about Unarius shifted over the years. So in the 90s was a more transgressive time. It was the counterculture of the 90s is very different than the culture today. Counterculture doesn't even exist today, really. But and I had a very limited understanding of Unarius, and back then, I think a lot of people, in the underground even categorized Unarius as like kook culture. But what I realized after, years later, spending time with the Source family, studying, exploring a lot of metaphysical groups, was I was able to understand on a much deeper level what Unarius was doing, which to my eyes was very complex and advanced, like metaphysical and esoteric understanding with a lot of the same principles of many groups. And so with this new view, I was also, I think, able to truly appreciate their aesthetic for being the absolutely ingenious aesthetic that it is, and also appreciate that their aesthetic came from a deeper purpose and principle. And to me, like, that just made it really incredible. So I wanted to do everything I could in this film to let their aesthetic shine through with as minimal as minimal outside interference as possible, like really just keeping like my fonts, the type very indigenous to the Unarius aesthetic. And we also used all of their original visual effects, because how can you top them? There's no way. There's no way. So yeah, so not only did I think about it on an intellectual or, a visual intellectual level, but also I'm aware that Unarius creates their work through tuning in to higher forces. So what they do, their work, like a lot of their work comes from this practice of tuning into something greater than themselves, their intuition, or the Space Brothers, or however you like to call them, angelic forces. And so for me and my crew, because this is very much a team effort, I directed it, but I had a spectacular team of 8 editors, which is so crazy because we had such a massive archive to go through. And by the way, Kevin and Unarius on their end put in countless hours, like transferring the footage. Anyway, I had a great team, and I encouraged people to also tune in to the Space Brothers and their higher selves to like let it flow through. And so that was another method of the way that we put the film together.
Nice. And since the completion of the film and things, what's been going on, Kevin, and what are kind of some of the future plans?
Well, the wonderful thing about the film is it's given us an opportunity to present Unarius to different communities that maybe have not seen anything about Unarius. So we're really well known in San Francisco, in LA, in San Diego, obviously, and in New York, some of the bigger marketplaces. And then there's others that we've been going to that maybe have never even heard of Unarius. So it's a wonderful opportunity for us to share the vision of love and understanding with the world, and this idea that everybody is creative, So it really helps us regenerate, renew the mission for the folks that are involved at the Unary Center and across the globe, really, and give people an opportunity to share this vision of our future, the future of planet Earth being a positive one instead of all the negative stuff we're going through. So loved it, love the opportunity that Jody has presented by doing this film and just taking part in a positive way and giving us a voice again to share with the world. And really, because at the time that we were making all these films, and I don't know how old you are, but honestly, when I was 18 years old, if I told somebody I believed I lived before, that was a huge deal, you know. And if I told somebody I believed in life and other worlds, like, oh my God, you know. And it's changed dramatically since that time. And I have to believe
Hmm.
that part of that is this whole process of the change of viewpoint on our planet that is taking place. So it's an opportunity that we wanted to take advantage of and share this wonderful message of Unarius and do it to an audience that maybe has not heard of us before. And the thing that I've found that is really great is all these young minds that see what we were about and recognize and want to express creatively are just jumping on board with it and appreciating it and loving it. And it's just it's a fantastic thing.
No, the thing that I love is it's this great synthesis of, creating understanding through creativity and art, and that's just it's a great way for people just kind of to experience and kind of learn about different ways of kind of seeing the world or living the world, which is kind of one of the reasons why the film festival was kind of first kind of established originally. It's just films are great ways to kind of walk in other people's shoes in that way. One question, obviously there were the thousands of hours to kind of go through, but was there kind of any specific challenges that you guys ran into in the making of the film, or something that most surprised you that when you came out on the other side that you didn't expect to happen from the project?
Mm. Well, I would say there were a lot of challenges making the film. We made the film during COVID. And so things that I never expected I would be doing included directing shoots remotely with remote camera crews in other states. So I was through Zoom directing and interviewing people for the film completely remotely. So we did that a lot. And then also working with the editors, I ran into challenges with perceptions from the editors, at some of the editors at first. And these are first class editors. I mean, they are great at what they do, very, very smart. But what I realized is that our culture, and I mean, I kind of knew this, but our culture still has these entrenched ideas about alternative spiritual communities. When a group like Unarius, shows themselves, like there must be something terrible about it, or there must, you better stay away from that because it's not going to end well. Like when you think about all of these, shows about new religious movements, AKA cults in popular culture, they all have to end poorly. And so I feel like people are conditioned to that. And so I had it took extra time with certain people to tell them, like, I've spent 7 years with this group, I've asked them all of these questions. There's a very respected sociologist, Deanna Taminia, who wrote a highly accredited book about Unarius with her 10-year participant observation, which came to the same conclusion. And it just took a while. And that's okay, because I feel like the ideas we're expressing in this film are new to a lot of people, and the perspective is new. And to me, even though the editing, is very challenging also, because the Unarius footage itself, like I found this, even for me, understanding the footage on a deeper level than most people, with my own personal understanding of what they were doing, it still revealed itself in different ways over time, and it meant different things at different times. So like this film, Dava Wisenat, she's an ACE award winning editor on the film who really like helped bring it home for us. She told me, she said, Jody, this film is a tonal tightrope. And if you take out one line here or have a one song here, it changes the whole film. And we realized that. So it really took extra time to do it. But for me, um, all of the extra time has been worthwhile because I'm so happy with the tone that we've finally been able to achieve. And I'm incredibly grateful to be able to tell a story like this story today when, you know, our world is just like such a mess and people are despondent and having challenges. To be able to be a filmmaker and tell a true story about people coming together to like make art to grow and free themselves and build community and heal themselves is an incredible privilege. So it's been worth it all, very much.
And I want to add something to what Jody said real quickly because I know we're running out of time. And I think it was shown in the doc all the footage, the video footage that we had, and as transferring that to digital format and then being able to use that on a big screen is incredibly challenging to get it to look good. And she did a masterful job of it. But what was amazing to us was because the technology has come so far, many of the films that we digitized, the video tapes that we digitized, we haven't been able to look at for years, or perhaps they were never used in anything because at the time the dropout and the problems with it were so bad that it was never even seen. So as I'm digitizing, you know, thousands of tapes, I'm watching footage and going, "Oh my God, I've never seen this before," and I was there filming it. You know, so that was amazing. And then I just cannot express how much nooks and crannies the Unarius Center has in the video lab and the film lab, and going through all these boxes and coming up with, you know, 16 millimeter, 8 millimeter film and going, well, it says moderator and Uriel on it. Let's see what's on it. And she used that in the doc as well. And just went, wow, this is priceless. So, so much footage that I was a part of that I never saw on film because it was bad. And then seeing so much of this wonderful, I call them home movies that Uriel and the moderator, Ernest and Ruth Norman made, it was just fantastic. I loved it and loved the way she utilized it. It was absolutely a masterful stroke and beautiful.
Yeah, well, it's a really terrific film, and I think it just shows you why, you know, documenting things, you know, in life kind of, you know, there are different ways that unintended ways that you never, you know, knew it was going to be used, and to kind of like it adds kind of a extra layer of nuance to the story. So as we wrap up, I always kind of try to remind our audiences that, you know, we as a festival are lucky enough that filmmakers share their films very early in their life cycle with us. And so our job as an audience is for the films that we like, are to kind of be the grassroots street team to kind of go and talk about the film, and particularly on social media, share about it. So what are ways that we can kind of spread the word about the film, and also how they can kind of continue to follow your efforts?
Thank you so much for asking. We are continuing to show the film at festivals. We have some festivals we can't announce yet, but we have festivals coming up after yours in August and September and probably October. So we have festivals going through the rest of the year, and we are, you know, we've got our film out to streamers and networks right now, and our hope and goal is to sell the film so we can pay our investors back everything that this film, you know, has cost. And so please, if you love the film, share about it on social media, tag Welcome Space Brothers. That's our account. If you go to Welcome Space Brothers, you can, and my account too, Unarius 33, if you remember that. But please share the love and encourage people to see it. And that will really hopefully help us to find the right home for it, so millions of people can see it.
Very cool. Well, thank you again for being part of SF DocFest, Jody and Kevin, and you know, just really glad that you guys decided to take this leap of faith and create this really great documentary.
Thank you.
means a lot to us that you selected our film at your awesome festival. So thank you very, very much. We really appreciate it.
Very cool.